to the track, the wall, makes the leap, and makes the catch! Amazing catch by Junior! He got it! A perfect game! 13 strikeouts! Line pitching out towards straightaway center field, drifting out toward right center, shot at the wall, leaps up, and he makes the catch! Mike Trout with another spectacular grab! There is out number 2. Bonds hit play high. Hits it deep. It is out of here. 7:56. What a special moment for Barry Bonds. Swinging a long drive. Deep to right. Going. Goodbye. He has done it. He has changed the game of the night.
Hello and welcome to episode 6 of the Champions Adjust podcast, season 2, episode 6 of the Champions Adjust podcast. We cover a lot on this podcast. We specifically talk about baseball, from youth baseball to all the way up to professional baseball, covering bat flips, short hops, mindset, coaching tips, current events, updates, records, stats. What? Ejections,
yeah.
all the good stuff on this podcast, but Coach Bodzin and I are specifically interested in youth baseball as we coach a team. We have 23.
I think he's up to 23 now.
23 amazing young boys.
13 officially. Happy birthday, Vinny Weber. 13th birthday yesterday, so officially, 22 13-year-olds, and Seth Timmons makes 23. I believe he's still 12.
Yeah, so all under the Wolfpack baseball banner. Yeah. We did not have any games over the weekend, and we dropped an episode last week. Not a lot has happened in that time frame in terms of MLB news that we really wish to discuss.
Sure.
So this week we're kind of going to introduce a new segment.
Yes.
We're going to dive into kind of one specific mental skills tip or tool or thing that we've seen most recently on the field. I'll discuss it. Coach Bodzin will then discuss it from a coaching perspective, and then as well give a tip from there that we can look into as other coaches that are listening, potentially as parents that are listening, potentially as players that are listening. Could be helpful for really anyone.
And let's chat about how this segment came to fruition today.
I would love for you to take that.
Yeah, this is great. So Aaron and I attend the same gym.
Yeah.
Shout out Planet Fitness.
Let's go.
Central Expressway.
Great place to get a workout in.
Yeah, great place to get a workout in. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, man, we really don't have a lot to talk about this week. Didn't have any games. We're not really a Major League Baseball podcast. We can talk about that, but I think that corner is that market's pretty much cornered by John Boy Media and a lot of other subsidiaries around there. Barstool Sports likes to talk about it a lot. That's not really our niche market. So I was gonna leave the gym and text Aaron and call him and say, hey, let's figure something out. And I turn around and Aaron is on the bike right behind me. I was like, hey, fancy seeing you here today. And I sat next to the bike with him while he was working out. I already finished my workout, so I sat there and didn't want to do any extra work. And discussed, like, hey, what can we do that, when we talk about baseball specifically, it's usually me doing the talking, right? Because Aaron's expertise with our team specifically is the mental mindset and the mental approach for our kids, because that's really, his training. And Brian Kane certified. We always talk about that.
Thanks, Brian Kane.
Yeah, shout out Brian Kane. And a lot of other certifications that are just as important. And so I figured, hey, on days like this, and we can make this a segment moving forward. Let's think of one thing that we talk to our kids about, and let's let Aaron discuss, what his thought processes are. Similar to what you do on your other podcasts, talk about mindset, but we can specifically attach this to youth baseball on this podcast.
Yeah, brilliant.
And I'm really excited to do it. So this was all my idea. And I really wanted to give a shout out to that, and also the fact that I'm working out,
You have been working out.
I am. I'm down
very hard.
25 pounds since
We'd love to see it.
Yeah, I recently saw a picture of, my nephew Jacob got bar mitzvah this weekend. And there was a picture slideshow, and I saw a picture of me in December, and I was like, that is not me. And my face was big and puffy, and I was like, man, that's not a good look for me. So I've been working out hard, and appreciate your support. We're just kind of shooting this shit and talking about whatever right now.
Well, yeah, that's what podcasts are about.
That's exactly what podcasts are about.
Before we get into that, there's a couple things that I want to discuss. One, I think it's important to talk about what actually we're trying to do here at Champions Adjust.
Yes.
So we started off just as a basic podcast that we would record sometimes. Then it turned into something that when we had Sander Bryan coming on regularly, which we hope to get back if he ever wants to pop back on, or if he listens to the episodes, whatever.
If you're hearing this, give us a shout.
But I know you're busy, you're working and all that stuff, and coaching and all that good stuff. So awesome. But we decided to just start a podcast, and Champions Adjust was a name that I got from one of my friends, Al, who we said it all the time when we were playing. And then Champions Adjust turned into a clothing line, which we have a lot of merch available at champsadjust.com. And then that morphed into developing this mindset program that I was already doing, but I attached the Champions Adjust name to it because it sounds really cool. And the more I thought about it, the more powerful those two words became. Because it's really actually true. Like, a champion can mean anything, right? Whatever you're doing in life. If you're trying to do whatever. It can be inside or outside sport, in your life, business world, parenting, anything, right? Champion we see as like this pinnacle, right? There's no real pinnacle. There's always like another step. But you're striving to be great. And that's what a champion is. And constantly as you move through this path, you're sort of having to adjust. And you're having to pivot and regroup and reset and reformulate and fall down and get back up and adjust and adjust and adjust. And so it became like two very powerful words. And that got put into very clear perspective when Coach Bodzin and I got an email from someone who bought some merchandise recently. So a lot of people, like this is someone...
Can we get like a screenshot of this on our...
Yes.
Without the name, of course.
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
And so... to be very honest with you guys, like a lot of the people that listen to this podcast are just friends of Coach and I, right? They're nice enough to listen to the pod.
And we appreciate that.
And we really appreciate it when we started, but we're about 25-ish episodes in, something like that. And so we're getting quite more people listening to the podcast. I'm posting a lot of this stuff on TikTok, so random people are kind of stumbling to the pod, and people seem to really like the idea that Champions Adjust. And there's no other brand out there that has that name. It's a sweet name and it's powerful. And this person sent me this amazing message after buying 3 Champions Adjust shirts. So his name is Christopher T. Oswald. I believe he lives somewhere in the East Coast. I forgot where I sent the merchandise to, but his address isn't on the email. But he sent me this message. Let me read it to you. Just bear with me. My 24-year-old son, Tommy Oswald, was diagnosed with a rare aggressive bone cancer named Ewing sarcoma, only 250 diagnosed in the U.S. last year, and he was diagnosed on November 8th, 2021. 4 days later, he underwent emergency surgery to remove a tumor in TA of his spine, causing pressure on his spinal cord. It was removed, but left him paralyzed from the waist down and in a wheelchair. Early in his 6-month fight, he told me, his dad, so Tommy told his dad, that his mantra, before ever finding this brand, just coming up it on his own, was Champions Adjust. That's what he felt was the most powerful thing for him in his journey. So he came up with that mantra, Champions Adjust. His friends and family loved it, his positive approach to life, right? On March 4th, 2022, he demonstrated this fight by standing on his own 2 feet for 20 minutes. Unbelievable. Sadly, in recent weeks, his dad sent me this about a week ago. Sadly, in recent weeks, the aggressive cancer has returned in full force, and the chemo and radiation treatments were no longer working. Last Friday, he asked for home hospice to make him comfortable and indicated he lived a fulfilling and loving life with special memories and personal achievements, leaving him and our family at peace. No regrets. Today, when he sent me this, he got the 3 shirts that he ordered with the wristbands and stickers. He says thank you, and tonight Tommy will wear that t-shirt with great pride, as champions always adjust. And he sent me some photos of him standing up. We'll put those on the screen here if you're watching it via YouTube. And I just thought that was incredible. I get a lot of those messages from kind of the work I do outside of this podcast with You Are Loved and stuff. But finally kind of putting in perspective how powerful the words Champions Adjust can be was really special. So I appreciate that message. Thank you for sharing. Tommy, you're an incredible human being. a champion. Thank you for just being you and living the way you live, and being so graceful through your disease and battling, and just unbelievable. Thoughts on that, Coach?
It really puts life in perspective, right? We all struggle with something in life, right? And all we can do is adjust, which is why we talk about Champions Adjust. I love wearing the gear. You owe me some shorts. I wear them to the gym. I see you next. But yeah, we talked about this before, but my dad passed away in 2017. I still feel like he's with me always. He's been gone for about 4.5 years. And in that time, I learned that it's not up to me to judge somebody for what's going on in their lives, right? Like, the worst day of my life to date was the day that I realized that my father was never going to get better. That was the worst day of my life. I realized I'm never going to have my father again. He's going to pass away in the near future. And there's nothing I or anybody else can do about it, right? That's the final, reconciliation, realization of mortality. Somebody else's worst day can be that they drop their brand new iPhone, right? It feels like apples and oranges to compare those two experiences. But if somebody's lucky enough to have not lost anybody they love, like we have, if somebody's lucky enough to not have, been diagnosed with an extremely rare disorder, like my father was actually, and just like Tommy was, who hopefully, Tommy, if you're listening, man, hearts out to you, man. I respect the hell out of your approach towards life. And I'm sure that you can, understand kind of where I'm coming from here is that it's not for us to judge somebody's bad day and what made their day bad. Hey, I walked 5 guys in a row and I got pulled out of the game and I got 4 earned runs attached to me, and I'm in a really bad place mentally right now, right? It's not the worst thing that's going to happen in your life, probably, but to this day, it might be the worst thing that happened, right? So all we can do is bounce back and adjust, because that's what champions do. That's what Tommy clearly has done to ask, the home health and hospice agency to make him comfort. That is, years of maturity beyond 24, which, what happens when you deal with adversity. You become very mature. Most of you probably don't know, I work in the home hospice space for my day job, so I see this every day. And my respect for you as a human being is astronomical. And I think that it speaks a lot to you as a human being, but it speaks to a lot of people in general, and to our mantra that, life happens. And there's a lot of bad stuff out there. There's a lot of really cool, good stuff out there, right? Like, I come and we sit down for, 30 minutes to an hour once a week, because you're my brother and I love you and I love spending time with you. And that's a cool thing. But there's a lot of bad stuff out there too. And, just recognizing that at the end of the day, there's only so much we can control about the negative, but we certainly control a lot about the positive. And as champions, we can adjust.
And we can always shine the light on the good things that are happening, so more people can hear about it, more people can know about it, more people can feel uplifted about it. Like, Tommy's situation is obviously very, very hard and challenging and scary.
Right.
But there is so much light in his life, in his eyes, in his father, that they're shining this beautiful light through that, and allowing our merchandise and our mantra to be a part of their life is really quite cool. And so I wanted to share that because I think that's very important.
No, I agree.
And it goes right in line with what we're trying to do here, right? And so what also we've developed is the Champions Adjust Mindset program, what I like to call C.A.M.P. And so there's 4 kind of pillars of the Champions Adjust Mindset program. It's what I do with our Wolfpack team every Tuesday, and I work with a couple other teams and some individuals, taking them through this program, basically about enhancing the mental capacity and the mindset agility of athletes, specifically baseball players, to consistently improve their performance and also make them more mentally sound on and off the field for optimal performance, but mostly for overall wellness. Because being an athlete is challenging. There's a lot of pressures that go with it. And so, yes, we're focused on highly performing on the field, but really it's about understanding that those skills are transferable to live a happy, healthy, joyful, fulfilled, meaningful life off the field, and that's what's very important. And so the 4 pillars, I'll give you the 4 pillars, and then we'll kind of dive into the first one here today. So the 4 pillars are: 1, do the work, right? Very simple. Most people do the work on the physical aspect, but very few people do the work on the mental aspect. And you can put in the sets and reps on your physical skills just like you would your mental, or just like you would your physical skills. So you want to put those sets and reps in to train your mental skills. So number 1 is do the work. Number 2 is tuning into your internal landscape. So understanding how you speak to yourself. Self-talk is very important when it comes to boosting confidence and increasing optimism. And then 3rd is optimism, because I think having a fundamental belief that things will work out for the best through the proper work, attention, and effort is very important, especially when it comes to consistently adjusting and getting through the hard times, either in baseball or outside of it. And number 4 is just be about it, right? Be about it. I talk about that with us as coaches, right? Showing up with authenticity. Coach was talking about it before, but embodying it, right? He's having a child soon, right? So he's going to embody those behaviors that he wants his child to do, right? Which is very daunting and very hard. That's why he's taking care of his health and fitness now. So it's a routine habit when things start to get a little bit more stressful in their lives. And so his son grows up seeing those kinds of behaviors.
Is having a kid stressful?
Don't know, never had.
I've heard that it makes life easier. I've heard that everything just gets easier when you have your kid. I'm sure my Uncle Alan, who's listening, can attest to that, right?
Sure.
No, but that is. I want to talk about that real quick, because the reason why I've been exercising, right, is a lot of the reason because my father passed away when I was 29 years old. I wasn't 30 yet, and I did not get to see my father past the age of 30. And when we found out we were having a child, Lulu hates when I say we're pregnant, because I'm not going through anything that she's going through.
Sure.
We're pregnant, huh? But when I found out we were having a child, I was like, hey, what I'm doing with my life right now, drinking more than I should be, eating not super healthily, not exercising. Yeah, my exercise was on the baseball field, right? Mm-hmm. You saw, I would go run before practice sometimes, but really it's when I'm chasing down fly balls and I'm doing base running drills. That's my exercise, but that's 2 to 3 times a week. That's not good for my physical health nor my mental health, right? So what I did was I started to wake up every day and go to the gym. I talked to a good friend of mine by the name of Aaron Mashpitz, and I was like, hey, what can I do here? And he said, hey, just do something every day. It's good for your mental health. And 5 months now since I've started doing that.
Yeah.
And I'm
you have a habit.
My stomach has shrunk exponentially. I'm down 25 pounds. My BMI is normal for the first time in 6 years.
Beautiful.
My dad bod is more of a fit dad bod, which is just incredible. Love that. Yeah. And that all goes to being about it, right? It's and doing the work. Really, let's tie this into doing the work,
sure,
right? Because that's what we're gonna be talking about today. Every day, I have to wake up and decide if I'm gonna do the work, right? That goes with my day job, which is a very stressful sales position, which we can talk about more in a few minutes, because I love to compare some of the things. We talk to some of the kids we coach about, how it compares to real life, but also knowing, hey, I want to live long enough for my kid to see me past the age of 30. So what can I do? I have to do the work. I have to exercise and embody Champions Adjust every day to ensure that I can create the habit, so that when we are sleep deprived on 2 hours of sleep every night, which I'm not good at doing, I'm still going to the gym because it's something that is important to me, because it will allow me to hopefully watch my child grow up.
Right. Exactly. Beautiful. Yeah, so those are the 4 pillars, right? 4 pillars. 1, do the work. 2, internal landscape awareness. 3, optimism. And 4, be about it. So today we're going to talk about do the work.
Yes.
And it's very simple. It's actually very simple. But you hear all the time, right? 90% of baseball, softball is mental.
Sure.
So then why are we leaving that much of our game up to chance?
You know the other half of the quote? And the other half, 90% of baseball is mental, and the other half is physical. Which adds to what? 150%.
Yeah.
Is that that? Yeah, no, 140%.
140%.
That's Yogi Berra.
And so we, when constructing this kind of wolf pack practice plan for the season that we're in now, Tuesdays were about strength speed, and mental skills, right? Honing in on all of these things, the physical and the mental connection, and the link with that, and making the best baseball player we can possibly make, and having those skills transfer into real life. So you have to put in the work. I can't all of a sudden become more confident. I can't all of a sudden understand how to regroup after an error. I can't all of a sudden figure out how to be more optimistic. I can't all of a sudden figure out how to have better self-talk, better focus, better body language without actually putting in the work consistently. So you go to your hitting lessons, you do your fielding lessons, you work on your arm strength, you go to the gym, you do speed and agility, but then you wonder why you have 3 strikeouts in a game and that compounds into another 6 bad at-bats.
Right.
You wonder why one bad throwing error in the second inning causes you to have 3 more bad errors. It has nothing to do with your physical ability. You're still capable as a baseball player. You still know how to do it because you've done it before and you can do it better again. But you haven't yet tuned in to what you're saying to yourself, how you're flushing it, how you're releasing it, how you're refocusing it, what you're doing with your body language, how is your flashlight of focus, and all of that has to come into your awareness. You have to start putting in the work consistently on understanding these tools and mechanisms, how to use your breath. Where are my shoulders at? Am I slumping over? What's my self-talk? Where's my focus? Are my feet underneath me? Am I present? Or am I thinking about what's important now? All of these skills are trainable skills, just like fielding, hitting, outfield, pitching. Everything is trainable. Everything can be improved to an extent. We don't look for perfection. Perfection doesn't exist. No one's ever been perfect ever, and no one will be perfect ever, especially on the baseball field. But we can strive to constantly want to improve our game, especially our mental game, because that's really where you become exponentially better than the players around you when everyone seems to be at kind of this level playing field. If you want to play Division I, if you want to play pros, if you want to do anything, honing in on your mental skills and doing the work will allow you to get there. And that's at least what I believe to be 100% true. And that's why I'm so happy to be working with Wolfpack Baseball, where it's a priority, and working with some of these other teams and programs and organizations and players where they think it's a priority as well.
Can I read this one? Because it's actually a buddy.
This is what I was going to talk to you about.
Okay, so let's preface this. Can I?
Do you have a comment on what I just said?
No, I'm excited to talk more about that.
Okay, and then this was leading me into the next
yes.
thing.
So Aaron's about to read a tweet from a friend of mine. And I'm very proud to call him a friend of mine, Michael Schlatt, who is first off, he's just a great human being.
Yeah. Great Twitter, follows on Twitter.
Yeah. He is currently the manager of the Missoula Paddleheads, which is formerly a minor league team, now is an independent team. They were the league champions last year. This guy, I had him in the clubhouse he was the Rangers for a few years, and I had him in AA in the clubhouse for 2 years. And we immediately, when I was 18 years old, just clicked. And we've been friends ever since. So I'm very proud to call him a friend as such. And he's just been around baseball for a long time. And you'll see, and I urge you to please go follow him if you're hearing this. He's at Michael_Schlatt. That's SCHLACT. Michael_Schlatt, and he's a great follow because what he talks about is a lot of what we talk about.
Yeah, like I don't know if there's ever a person where I 100% agree with everything they do all of the time,
sure,
or everything they tweet, excuse me, because I don't know if that's possible. But if there was one guy that Champions Adjust as a combined group, Bodzin and I, like really believed in what they said, it's this guy for sure.
And Michael, we're going to clip this clip. I'm going to text it to you, and I know it's been a while since we've caught up, but I'd love to have you on to talk to us about more about your thought process. And
great.
To bring him on and interview him a little bit and have him as a guest. But anyway, so I'll let you read this tweet.
Speaking of all of the good tweets that Michael puts out, this one I like this one because I think it fits into doing the work. I think it fits into the conversation that Bodzin and I have all the time between winning and development. It's actually a very complicated question. It's actually a very nuanced debate. I think both of us lean to kind of one side is more important, but both have their equal importance. But Michael says, If you're a youth coach, younger than high school age athletes, who says they care about development of your players, but you aren't mixing up the lineup and letting your players play many different positions, then I'd argue you're not about development at all. Coach Bodzin?
We talk about this a lot, right? I'll lead this with an example. I went to Arizona Baseball. I was in town, and I went to a game, and there was a kid sitting in front of me. He had a Dallas Tigers hat on. I was like, hey, I used to coach for the Dallas Tigers. It turns out he's 11U baseball, and he only plays third base. And my first thought, great kid, I'm sure he's a great athlete. My first thought was, why are we pigeonholing a kid at third base at that age? Another example, there's a kid named Kellen Cantrell who plays for us. This kid is like the Swiss Army knife of the Wolfpack baseball. He plays every position, and he can play it well. He's so athletic. So much so that we don't really know where to put him half the time because he's so good at everything. And one day I put him in the lineup, and I said, all right, you're playing center field. He goes, Coach, I don't play center field. I said, you do now because you're athletic enough and you need to learn how to do it. Jason Madrano, another good example. He's never really played outfield. We're putting him in left field a lot. Playing in right field a bit. His brother Steven's playing a lot of right field.
They've both turned into great outfield.
They absolutely have. They're not perfect because, first off, nobody's perfect. But second, they've never really played outfield. So they're learning it quickly. But it's just reading the ball off the bat is different in the outfield than it is in the
start of the season, one was a second baseman, one was a third baseman, and that's who they wanted to be. Right. And now they've transformed into very capable outfielders, and have multiple positions under their belt.
And then we have a kid like Weston Williams who told me, "Hey, Coach, I want to be a pitcher only. That's what I want to do." I said, "Weston, you hit way too well today." I was a pitcher only. I got banned from hitting BP my senior year. I was so bad at hitting. I was just not a good hitter, and it was 1,000% mental. I did not have the mental fortitude to sit to stand in the box and not know if I was going to get pegged in the face. Or if and that's why I always rolled over. I always cast my hands because I was like halfway out the box just in case. I was just not a good hitter.
This wasn't your thing.
I was a pitcher only as a result. Weston Williams, I'm sure you're going to be listening to this, you were too good of a hitter. So what did Weston do? He went and learned how to play third base better. And he went from possibly being a, backup third baseman who's going to be playing he's going to be a lot of pitching, but he's probably going to be playing third base on Saturdays for us, to this dude's a closer because he has a good fastball and a good curveball and he spots it. And then when he's not there, he's our starting third baseman. Right. He's learned it. And now Weston Williams will go to high school, wherever he goes. I believe he said he wants to go to Jesuit. And he's going to say, I am a pitcher. I'm a third baseman. I can play corner outfield. And I can hit. And that goes a long way for high school coaches.
Right.
So if you're listening to this and you're a youth coach, if you're listening to this and you are the parent of a youth player, pigeonholing them into a position or two positions is just, unless you got a guy who clearly can only pitch and play first base, and there's those guys out there, right? They're out there. Or just play first base and right field, and they're out there. But if your kid has the ability to pitch, play some infield, play some outfield, not only are they more athletic as a result, they're going to be more athletic because they can move their body in certain ways, but when they get to a high school tryout, they're not going to say, oh, I'm just a pitcher. Okay, well then you will only be compared to other pitchers. However, if there's 5 other pitchers who are just as good as you and those other 5 guys all have another position they can play and they can hit, guess what? You're not going to get picked over them. It's just, it's basic math and logic. So you can't, in good conscience as a coach, say, hey, you're really good at third base at 12U, so I'm only going to have you play third base because winning this tournament is so important to me.
Right.
Because winning a ring and playing only third base is great right now, but what is that doing for you in 3 years when you're playing high school baseball? Well, we won a lot of rings, but now I don't play high school baseball because I don't really have another position. And that's my biggest fear for, kids not getting many positions. And then, we talk about, mixing up the lineup. What do? We roll the lineup constantly. I had a conversation with a specific player who...
Can you explain what rolling the lineup
means? Rolling the lineup basically means if the last out of a game was the 5th batter, that 6th batter was on deck. Well, that 6th batter is now my leadoff, no matter what, for the next at-bat, next game. We have a guy who's not very fast, drop him down a couple, but he's going to be in the top half of the lineup, so that we can really do our best to even out the at-bats. We want everybody to get just about as even amount of at-bats as possible.
Right.
We'll give you a story real quick. I told you this was going to happen. You're going to introduce, and I'm just going to go off. One specific player, he might be listening, he might not. I'm not going to name him. We were going into a first game on a Saturday, and he was batting second to last. And he was starting the field, he was batting second to last. And he was really upset. This hit his ego. He's like, why am I batting second to last? Well, the logic behind it was because you don't want to have your worst hitters at the bottom of the lineup, because the bottom of the lineup guys eat fastballs, right? I put Jack Town, he's a great fastball hitter, near the bottom of the lineup, not because he's not a good hitter, but because I know that another coach is going to say, oh, this guy can't hit. He's batting 10th in the lineup.
Right.
Well, Max Bachman hit 2 off the wall, hitting in the 10 hole once, and the coach showed him to me and goes, Coach, this is your 10 hole? Like, well, not really, but that's where we have him hitting.
Yeah, because Bachman's a fucking stud.
He's an absolute stud. No, it's okay. We all know that he's an absolute stud.
And Jack can lace it. Jack's a great hitter.
Jack hit a ball so hard that he broke a third baseman's glove.
That was cool.
We put him towards the bottom lineup. He got a fastball, and he hit a ball against a 14U team. Again, we're playing up. It's a 14U team that broke the third baseman's glove. And Jack isn't super fast on the line, but he got down there because he couldn't get the ball back. Anyway, so this kid was really upset, not realizing that the reason we were doing this was because we wanted to put good hitters towards the bottom of the lineup too, and give him an opportunity to get more fastballs, so we can get on base and have him on base more. He's one of the best base runners we have. Other aspect is you'll probably be here the first game, and you'll probably be towards the top of the lineup. Right. In fact, the next game he was batting 5th, right? And I think the next day he batted 3rd. Right? And it was really upset, and he was almost inconsolable for the first game as a whole. And you and I were back like, dude, we got to figure this shit out.
Right.
Like, he's not a present baseball player right now because he's so pissed off at where you're at in the lineup. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter where you're at in the lineup. Coaches who put their top talent at the top of the lineup and their worst hitters at the bottom of the lineup, it's a terrible approach, not only from a winning perspective, because now I have a huge hole 8 through 11. Nobody's going to hit. That's 4 automatic outs, right? Mm-hmm. Unless we get walked or we just happen to finally, maybe get a hit. Mm-hmm. Not only that, but it's terrible for a kid's self-esteem to tell a 13-year-old, hey, you're good enough to be in this lineup, barely. You're barely good enough to be in this lineup, and you're 13 years old. That is a backhanded way of saying that, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. You're telling him, hey, you're good enough to be in this lineup, but you're my 10 hole because I can't really afford for you to be towards the top right now.
Right.
Versus, hey, dude, I know you saw you're towards the bottom of the lineup. We did this last year. We talked about Bauer Gale a lot, which is a name for the past, and I missed that kid. But he had like 50% of the times he got on base, or he got up to the plate, he got on base. So he was my 10 hole, consistently my 10 hole. No matter what, I did not roll him. He was always my 10 hole. And finally he came to me, Coach, why am I always hitting last? I'm hitting well. I said, that's why you're hitting last. I'm not putting my worst hitter last, dude. I don't want one. If it's 10, 1, and 2, I don't want an out when my leadoff hitter goes up. I want to run around when my leadoff goes up there. Cardinals have been doing the same thing. Cardinals will have Dylan Carlson hitting leadoff or Tommy Edman hitting leadoff with Harrison Bader, who is like a 44% on base percentage right now, hitting last because, hey, we got one of the fastest guys in the league who's hitting 9th, and he's going to get on base for you. And now we got one of the fastest guys in the league on base for our leadoff hitter.
Right.
Through, right.
And also with both of our Wolfpack teams, mm-hmm. Navy and Gold, the lineups are quite stacked.
So much hitting.
And so it doesn't really matter where you're hitting in the lineup because the lineups are that deep. And there's a bunch of really good hitters throughout the whole lineup. That's why we win a lot of games. Yeah. With both lineups.
Yeah.
And so I think that's important to take note as well. And another thing to take note of is that no matter where you are in the lineup, what position you're playing, or if you're playing or not, no one and nothing should take you out of your game. And so that's very important because baseball will do it enough for you. Mm-hmm. Baseball, the most challenging, failure-driven sport, will do it enough for you. It'll beat you down itself. Yeah. You will strike out. You will make errors. You will do this. You will lose games. And so if you have any control over how you can stay in the game and not let any external circumstances take you out, the coach, your parents, the umpire, the weather, Jake from State Farm. It doesn't matter what external circumstances there are. If you can always play your game, then you're going to be on the right track more often. Absolutely. And that, again, comes down to your mental skills. And that's a very hard skill to master. But if you can work on it now at a young age, when you get to these more pressure-filled situations, a high school varsity playoff game, things like that, right, and something happens, your coach yells at you, he puts you in the 7 hole when you've been crushing it, but he doesn't tell you why, even though he probably has a reason. If the umpire calls 2 bad strikes on you in your first at bat with the guy on second, you have to win this game or you're going to lose. Like, all of these things are going to happen. And so if you learn now to not have anything take you out of your game, you're going to be able to have that much more success, or at least have that much more control over your process of being successful in the coming years, games, whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah. No, agreed. So, and that's what it's all about, right? You know, if you're going up against a team that's supposed to be better than you. Like, let's look at Texas State played against number 1 team in the country, Texas, this year.
Oh, yeah.
And that is a situation where you're going up against a team that did not want to recruit you. You're playing in the state of Texas, but you're playing for the 6th or 7th best program in the state of Texas. Because you have Texas A&M, you got Texas Tech, all solid baseball programs.
TCU.
You got TCU solid baseball program. You have Rice solid baseball program. DBU's is a really solid baseball program.
Yep.
So then we put Texas State. Baylor's a tough. So now we're looking like the 8th or 9th best baseball program, and these kids are guys who did not get recruited by Texas, Baylor, TCU, etc. Or if they did, it was as a preferred walk-on or no real scholarship in Texas State, saying, "Hey, come to San Marcos. We're 30 minutes south of Austin. You're basically going to be right there. It's a lot of fun. Come play baseball for here." They walked into Austin, 30 minutes north of them, in a sold-out Dish Falk, which is where Texas plays their home games, and they beat the number 1 team in the country. Not because it was an upset. It's because these really solid athletes walked into a situation they were supposed to lose in, and they played their game. And they said, "I don't give a shit who you are. I am who I am. This is how I've gotten here. I'm not going to change that now."
Right.
And it's admirable, and it's the embodiment of champions adjust, right? Hey, how do you feel going to a team that is the number 1 team in the country right now? It's the number 1 team in the state. You're on the 8th team in the state, and you weren't supposed to be here because they didn't want you. And they're sold out, and I bet a bunch of people are going to be cursing at you because, who are we kidding? There's a lot of, older people who yell at kids.
There's a lot of drunk students there too.
Right? A lot of drunk students too, and you're hearing it from all ends, and you hear some really bad stuff. We saw with Chris Paul, and his mom was getting harassed yesterday at the Mavericks game, which was horrible. So how do you embody that? You adjust to the situation. You say, well, fuck this. I am a damn good baseball player. I said this to the gold team recently. We had a string of losses. I said, listen, guys, you're damn good baseball players. You're good athletes. Don't let the wins and loss record affect how you feel about yourself as an athlete. Because at the end of the day, right now is all about development.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's more fun to win.
Sure.
But right now, are we developing to get better? Yes, and that's what's important. Play your game, and more times than not, things will roll the right way. Yeah, in that game, we went up against a team we were supposed to get smoked by, and we lost in the last inning.
Played a great game.
Played a great game.
Because you keep showing up. You keep showing up.
Just play your game. Or, that Navy team went in against the number 1 seed in the 6th game of the weekend and beat them 17-2 as the 4th seed. They were they walked in, you're not supposed to beat us. Well, we're going to beat you 17-2 because we don't care that we're the 4th seed and you're the 1 seed. We're a better baseball team than you. We're going to play our game, and good luck keeping up with us.
Exactly.
And that's the way you adjust mentally, right? Is play your game. You've gotten this far for a reason, right? I had this conversation. We talked earlier about, like, hey, you made an error, but you're still the same athlete. I've had, I work really closely with the Madrano brothers, and Jason and Steven. I've had one-off conversations with both of them of saying, hey, you made an error, but how many fly balls have you taken in your life? Countless, right? This is no different. Shut your brain off. Let your body do the work. Yeah? Go make the play. Go play baseball. Go play catch. Go make contact with the baseball with a bat. Go throw the ball into the closest to a strike as you can. Just go play the game and have fun. The things will fall where they may. And generally speaking, if you put the work in, If you put the work in and then just go play the game, things tend to work out better. Now, if you don't put the work in and you go play the game, you're probably going to get rolled.
And it's tough.
And it's tough.
It'll be glaringly obvious what things you need to do to work on.
And it is to us, right? We always can tell which kids are working the hardest and which are the ones that are maybe just skating by. And it's tough to watch because at 13 years old, I find it's just as much a challenge to convince a 13-year-old to give all the effort in the world.
Yeah.
For, because they're 13, just as much as I do just coaching the game in general. Like, it's a full-time job.
Yeah.
And I don't envy parents who deal with 13-year-olds, and I'm gonna, in 13 years, gonna have my own. So
that's right.
Here we go.
That's right.
That's my 20 cents.
And I think we gave a lot of nuggets of wisdom just now.
I think so too.
You got any other questions, comments, concerns, anecdotes, funny stories?
Champions Adjust, baby. Tommy, we're thinking about you, man. Shots to you. And shots to your whole family. We're always, we're the Champions Adjust family, and you're part of it. So we're here for you.
That's right. We live by only two mantras on this podcast, and in life, and with our family, with our friends, with our team. One is you are loved. I believe that. And two is Champions Adjust. So thank you for listening. We appreciate you.
Third, if we had one, is Jaxon Stone, everybody.
Yeah, exactly. My pretend name, Jaxon Stone. Cheers. Retired from professional wrestling.
Is that your official announcement right here?
Oh, that'd be so weird.
Sneak it in
on my only baseball podcast, not on my other podcast.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening.
Please share this with I think a lot of people could hear this. Other parents, coaches, players, whatever. Let's get the word out about Champions Adjust and how we can all just be a little bit more mentally sound, mentally well. And May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Your mental health is important.
100%.
Be proactive about it. And much love to you always. And you're capable and beautiful. So thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. If you're listening to us for one of our players, or if you're a youth baseball player in general, go do the work. Appreciate you listening. Now go do the work. See you next week.